Hey, what's up, y'all? I decided that I think it would be kind of cool if I did an office tour. I don't know, like I watch a lot of YouTubers and they do, room tours and setup videos and whatnot. Why not do something like that for myself? So, come on a little tour with me as we go through my office. All right, so the first thing that you need to know is that if you are on the Northwest campus and you are in the A building, this is looking towards the M building, the C building is that way. Well, if you come down here, you'll see this nice little corridor, and you come through here where there's this nice door, and on the right, you will see a couple of things. So number one, there's my name and my titles. Yes, you could call a historian a necromancer because we bring the dead to life. A couple of nice lithographs of, on the right is a Greek Orthodox lithograph of one of the evangelists, that is somebody who wrote the Gospels. And on the left is one of the pages of the Lindisfarne Gospels, that is the beginning of the Gospel of Matthew. And there's a little death trooper right here for funsies. So you will know that you have found my office if you see all of this whimsy in the room. So you can see that I've got Mjolnir, a couple of Infinity Gauntlets, a Gundam, Kool-Aid Man, Cthulhu, all of that great stuff. And the whimsy kind of continues all the way around the office, including some Pokemon up there on the shelf. Now, got the door closed. This is a little reminder that I have kept on my door because I forget things, and this helps me remember. But here we've got, let's do the important things first. That's my PhD diploma and my bachelor's and my master's degree. Pause the video if you want to see where they're from, but I'm very proud of these. This was my acceptance letter that I got in 2006 from the University of Hawaii. I tell just about anybody that that letter changed my life completely. That was my ticket to a world that I never thought I'd be a part of, and I'm glad for it. I got a couple IDs there too. Down here are my access cards to a couple of European libraries. So number one, we have the Vatican, both on the top left and the bottom right. The one on the top left is for the Papal Archive. The one on the right is for the Vatican Library, the Apostolic Library. We have the British Library there too. Here, if I can turn this way, we have a poster from my favorite band's tour that they did celebrating like 15 years of their album Visu. And I got a nice little signed poster from the tour. And Skeletor is down there too, because, Skeletor's got to have a place. Down here, I have a whole bunch of books. Number one, we've got some books that nobody cares about unless you go to graduate school shelf, which, if you're watching this and you're a graduate student, you will read Foucault now, and then you'll probably never think about Foucault ever again in your life. And then down at the bottom are some cool primary source books for the work that I do on the papacy and the East. All right, so starting with the first bookshelf, these are just different textbooks for U.S. history and world history. As you scroll down, starts to get into primary source readers, which, as a student in my class, you know quite well how much I enjoy primary sources. I make you read a lot of them. Coming over here to the next couple of bookshelves, The way that these are organized is first we have individual primary sources that go to, approximately these first three shelves. Bleeds a little bit onto the second. But these are organized by time period, region, and then within those two things, the books are alphabetized. Yes, it took a long time. We got a lot of medieval books and some boxes of books that I need to put away. Up here, we have more medieval. These are all secondary sources, more medieval, and then start getting into more modern world history, which continues all the way down through there and down here before it ends. This is my working desk. If you've been in a face-to-face class with me, you know that I tote McDonald's coffee around all the time. Not because I particularly like McDonald's coffee, it's just cheap and available close by to work. Now that we have the Taza spot, though, I might have to rethink that. Up here, I've got a dead printer. That's my tenure binder that needs to get worked on. And I mean, what everybody wants to see, of course, is the Witch King on his Nazgul. And look at these beautiful Pokemon. Dragonite here is looking like he's having some trouble. So let's get him taken care of. Some more notes to myself. Sometimes I need a push. Before we go over to the other couple of bookshelves, this is a really special place in my office. I taught at Cotton Valley Early College in Fabens, Texas for 2 years, and I sponsored the class of 2020, and we had a really good bond. I miss them. It's cool to see them going on and succeeding, whether they're getting their first jobs or getting into graduate school. I'm proud of all of the things that they've done. This on the left is a map that one of my students drew for our Dungeons and Dragons club, because that's just, well, I'm a nerd. What are you gonna do? And of course there's a Master Sword down there. Gotta have a Master Sword. All right, on the other wall, got a nice little poster of the history of space travel, which is super neat. Up on top, I've got a completion certificate of the Teachership Academy here at EPCC. My graduate school clan, like these guys, I miss them a ton. We had a lot of fun together. I was older by a few years than all of them, but I was super glad that they let me hang out with them and do some funny stuff. And we dressed up as the Avengers one Halloween. That was a good night. I had a lot of fun. The rest of these books, we continue on. This is where my U.S. history shelves start. And again, going from period to period and then alphabetized. Starting down at the bottom over there, that's my history of Christianity stuff, which continues over here. We'll talk about this painting in just a second. If you've had class with me, you know that my specialty is medieval Christianity. So a lot of my books reflect that. Plus, I've got a few things about more recent Christianity, at least in terms of its nexus with the political world and other secular worlds. And then we get into my This Is How You Teach section, which is quite big. So, if I'm fumbling through an idea in class, it's probably because I've never tried it before, and I read it in one of these books and was like, well, maybe I'll give that a shot. And down at the very bottom are just a collection of notebooks, a few oversized books, and then my language learning books, which includes 2 copies of the books that taught me Latin, written by Robert Ball, who was at the University of Hawaii and taught me a lot. So, all told, that's the office, at least this one. It's quite a place. Come visit. So this painting is actually done by one of our professors here at EPCC, Professor Spiliotis. She used to be just on the other side of that wall, but she's moved campuses and we miss her a lot. But my wife got me this for our dating anniversary, which was just the other day, at least when I'm filming this. And it's gonna go and find a spot here in my office at some point. But it's pretty cool, and so is Zoe. So, there you go. All right, so now comes the fun part. You got to see my office. You also might notice that my beard and my hair are different lengths. It's because it's been, 4 months since I shot the first part of this video. So, yeah, been a bit busy. But let's get this turned around. And we're going to, let me do it until I finish shooting. I'll edit that out. So we're going to take a look at my home office. Get ready. All right, so in a tour of my home office, the place to start really is in the hallway. This is the approach to the office. You can see there's book overflow out here. As well as a couple of nice posters. My favorite one, of course, is the one on the far left, but the other two are pretty great. Also, I have one of my production assistants here. Oh, and there's another one. So that's Mateo. This is Sippy. And down there is Drexler. So as we come in, and we'll go by the history of cosmic exploration here. We'll come into the office. So, of course, gotta have Cthulhu up there on the door, guarding the place, along with the Master Sword, just in case. And on this wall, we've got a couple of different action figures, mostly Star Wars related, almost all Star Wars related, including the new big bad Grand Admiral Thrawn. Not so new, really. He's been around for a long time. He's just getting play in the live action series. But let's take a step in here and we'll do the whole panoramic view. Some good stuff going on. Go down here. All right, so let's start at the business end of things. This is my little production studio. This is where I do a lot of the YouTube content, and I do a lot of my grading here too, to say the least. It's my main computer, so it's got to have a lot of my attention. So we'll start over here, and you'll notice the big beast here. Specs are, there's an AMD Ryzen 9 5950X in there. That's an RTX 3080. It's the ROG Strix. 64 gigabytes of DDR4 3600 RAM. I think there's 3 terabytes worth of M.2 storage, as well as a bunch of hard disk storage as well. So we've got my dot cam with my SteelSeries Nova Pros. Got a range of different cameras that I use. Thinking about upgrading the Brio to the new Elgato Facecam Pro, just to tie it into the rest of the ecosystem. Got some Nanoleaf because, well, you know, nerd gonna nerd. Here's my baby, not the Snorlax, but my Shure SM7B. I love that microphone. Got a nice wall of various controllers that I use for the systems. that I have tied down over here. That's a PS4 Pro, a Wii U, and of course there's a Switch right here on top. That's my OLED version. Up here, I like big robots, and I cannot lie. These are all Gundams. Most of them come from the Gundam Wing series, because that's what got me into Gundam, but there's some various others as well. Let's go ahead. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. I was going to zoom in a little bit, but I wanted you to see the gloriousness of the Psyduck. He is amazing. It's one of my favorite pieces in here. All right, so Tron. We've got some cool goodies on the desk to help with creation, couple of textbooks, and then we'll come over this way. So here is some more of my figure collection. These are all Build-A-Bears because, you know, you can't beat the quality. Like here, mostly Star Wars and Avengers, but there is a Voltron hanging back there. Again, I like big robots, and I cannot lie. And here we have my Ultimate Collector Series A-Wing, an underrated starfighter, I have to say. It looks good. It just looks good. As well as some video game characters. So we have Artorias from Dark Souls right here, Solaire, the Black Knight, I have Geralt, Malgus, the Hunter from Bloodborne, and Aloy from Horizon. And of course, I've got the Tron poster over on my right, but you've got to have Tron and Sark if you're going to be a real Tron fanboy. Down here, this is a Nintendo Z bag, which sounds funny, but this has a Super Nintendo in it. My childhood Super Nintendo, actually. And this is kind of a cool piece, I think, because I used to, before my parents got us a Super Nintendo of our own, I used to go to the rental store down the road about every weekend and rent a Super Nintendo. And it always came in this bag. And more often than not, it was this bag with Super Nintendo inside it alongside a copy of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past to play for the weekend. And more on that in a minute. Down here, we've got mostly fiction books, with the exception of a few history things. So, for writing my footnoting history episodes, recently I did something on a rumble between two brothel madams, which the Gentlemen's Club helped with. And then you can see some of my other interests based on title spines and stuff like that. Got a couple lightsabers hidden back there. I don't really have a place that I want to put them right now. There are a couple of obvious places, but I just haven't gotten there. Up here, we've got some helmets. Vader, Black Panther, Iron Man, and then Mass Effect Shepard. His or her helmet is right up there. And of course, some more Thanos. You might notice that there's quite a bit of Thanoi in the office. I do love the character. All right, so over here we've got some Amiibo, Metroid, and there's some Cthulhu, Jon Snow's sword. It's very heavy. There's actually a ton of Amiibo behind this door, but I am currently out of space, so they're down there in the bottom. We'll hide that shame for now. All right, so moving along, let's go first here to my Roland drum kit. In a previous life, I played the drums. I guess I can still play the drums. I have the ability to. It's just, I haven't been able to do it for a while. So unfortunately, that's kind of where I am at. But it's here, so when I have the time, I can play to my heart's content. All right, so over there, we have some more Marvel action figures. We've got some of the Fantastic, well, all of the Fantastic Four there, as well as Doctor Doom, who's another favorite villain of mine. I've tried to get most of the X-Men in the style of the 92 cartoon, but that's, it's a little bit hit or miss. And of course, there's another Thanos over there. I just can't help myself. Also, I don't know why this is here instead of in the office, but this is a icon of the harrowing of hell, when, according to some Christian traditions, Jesus descended into hell during his 3 days between crucifixion and resurrection, and brought all of the virtuous out of hell to paradise. Good times. All right, so let's start over here, because this is where my collection, I think, matters the most. You just heard my lightsaber fire up. Yes, it's purple. That is the best color of lightsaber. Don't at me. But got some collector edition things up here. So Blaster Master 0 and 02, Castlevania Requiem, which is Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood, as well as the Castlevania collection. I forget what if it's an Ultimate Edition or Collector's Edition, whatever, the limited run thing. That thing's rather cool. But it stays up there because it's big and it's big. So on the next shelf, I've got some Amiibos and some World of Nintendo figures, and behind them are the Super Famicom, that is the Japanese, releases of Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, as well as Chrono Trigger. Those all came from Japan. As far as I can tell, they're authentic. The carts all boot up, they're good to go, and they're complete in box. I think they're rather cool. And then we have 2 sealed Super Nintendo games behind there. Super Empire Strikes Back and Super Return of the Jedi, that were given to me by one of my colleagues, Dr. Jerry Wallace. On the next shelf, this is kind of my handhelds area. I've got a PS Vita that's actually hacked, and it has some ROMs on it. A PSP that's just normal, a DS, an original 3DS, a 3DS XL, a new 3DS XL, and a Game Boy Color. An original Legend of Zelda cart, nice and protected. A couple of Metroids, one of which looks like he's had better days. And then one of these things is not like the other. So the Blaster Master is complete in box. That's for the original Nintendo. The Zelda and Illusion of Gaia are both complete in box. Not in the best condition, but I'm glad to have them CIB. Then this is the Contra collection that Limited Run put out. I just haven't had a chance to put it anywhere, so it sits there. On this shelf, we have original NES, Super Nintendo, and N64. I think it's pretty clear which console I consider my favorite. If you're not a numbers person, it's Super Nintendo. I think it's still the best console ever made. And I know that's controversial, but I think it's right. It's also the console that I had the most fun with as a kid, so that explains that. Some highlights here. We've got all 3 Castlevanias. got some Mega Man, Metroid, some Mario, an unsung classic, Yo Noid, the Domino's Pizza mascot game. If you don't know, now you know. On the next shelf, I've got some Genesis games, my GameCube game, and then you'll notice that there are some cased Nintendo and Super Nintendo games. The ones that I have in cases here are super valuable to me personally. B, are rare games, just generally speaking. Or C, I guess this kind of goes along with B, they're expensive. So, like Chrono Trigger, for example, which I think is the most expensive game that I own at this point, though there's a couple of contenders in here too. Ogre Battle, for example, and Lufia 2 are fairly pricey. My GameCube collection is bigger than I thought that it would ever get. A lot of that has to do with the Zelda collection right there in the middle. But, you know, I never had Mario Superstar Baseball before, or there's a couple games over here like The Simpsons Hit and Run and Phantasy Star that I never had as a kid. Generally speaking, my rule of thumb with buying retro games is I either needed to have it as a kid, or it was a game that I really wanted as a kid but never got to have. Going down a shelf, we have Wii U, and the beginning of my Switch collection, as well as some other funsy stuff. So there's some Switch collector's editions here, namely Death's Door and Cult of the Lamb is back there. Also this limited run mystery or blind box that, in something that would surprise nobody, actually has Castlevania collection in it. So I have quite a few versions of the Castlevania collection. I like Castlevania a lot. So, any highlights here? Got the Metroid Prime trilogy on Wii. That's a big deal. A complete in box Zelda Oracle of Seasons. There's a sealed Wind Waker HD Greatest Hits in that stack. And there's a ton of Switch stuff that's great in here. It's just, I have too many things and it's hard to pull it all out. The next shelf is mostly handheld stuff, but it does have the rest of my Switch collection, including another Castlevania collection. Again, but this was a convention exclusive, and I really like the Super Nintendo style box. This is Knights of the Old Republic for the Nintendo Switch. I just thought it was rad that they did it as a VHS. So that's there. So I've got some Game Boy and Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, and 3DS. Another Chrono Trigger in here. At this point, I believe I have all of the GBA and DS Castlevanias. I don't have any of the Game Boy Castlevanias just yet, like the original Game Boy. But you can see there's 3 Castlevanias there. There's another right here. And I do not have the Castlevania Lords of Shadow for the 3DS, but maybe one day. Got a couple of old school guides, all by Nintendo Power. This is a complete in box SimCity 2000 for PC. It's not worth very much, but that might have been my favorite PC game when it first came out. I absolutely love SimCity 2000. Down here, we won't talk about this much. This is my Xbox collection. I don't know how I feel about that. I could probably get rid of most of this and be perfectly okay. but that's a different conversation. All right, more books, because there's always more books. We have my TV right here. So it's just a 50-inch, nothing special. I could be better about cable management. I try, but there's a lot of cables. All right, so the other shelf up top, we have my Elden Ring Collector's Edition for PS5. That's sealed. It's never getting opened. That's a special piece. We've got Sif from Dark Souls. Got a couple of other From characters in Funko Pop form. I don't know why Reva, the third sister from the Obi-Wan series, is up there at the moment, but there she is. And that, on the far right is a complete in-box Space Quest 3 for the PC, and that's the MS-DOS version. There's actually 3.5-inch and 5.25-inch floppies in there, and if you're looking closely at it, if I can keep the phone straight, it might look sealed, and it almost is sealed. The previous owner just opened the very top of the box, so the original seal is still intact. Well, not the seal, but the plastic is still intact. It's been opened. All right, next shelf down, we've got PlayStation 1 and PS2, as well as some pretty special games that I've set out here. And DJ, if you aren't tuned into Double Jump Video Games YouTube channel and store, you should get on that. They're awesome. You've got the usual standards in the PlayStation area. So, for example, the Final Fantasies are all there. Some Gran Turismo, Grandia, Xenogears, Suikoden, all of the Mega Man X's, Star Ocean. You might have guessed that I like RPGs. So, got Lunar 1 and 2. These aren't complete in box, but they're close. So, Lunar Silver Star Story Complete is missing the map. Eternal Blue, I'm pretty sure, is just missing the medallion, but otherwise they're complete. Move them back over here. We've got some PS2 stuff here. There's not a lot that's like super special or rare in the PS2 collection. The Castlevania games are great. The Champions games are great. Of course, the God of War series. But yeah, there's nothing that's really rare there. Most of my rare stuff is over in the Nintendo area. Next shelf down, got PS3. Again, nothing super special here. There's some great games, like Demon Souls. You can tell I like Dark Souls, Dead Space. I just picked up Eternal Sonata not too long ago. Shout out to D-Pad Games and New Braunfels. A couple Dynasty Warriors Gundam. Folklore's fairly rare. I did not get it for $20, sadly. It's more expensive than that these days. The Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection is a good thing to have. So we've got some PS4 stuff, as well as these dumpster fire figures that I just think are hilarious. Drop one more shelf, and this is the last shelf of games in this room anyway. PS4 collection. Again, nothing really special here in terms of rarity or value, but, you know, some good stuff. Horizon, the Kingdom Hearts series, Dragon Quest XI, wonderful game. No Man's Sky, which I bought at launch, was disappointed by, and haven't really come back to all that much. Oh, here's something that's nice. I do have a physical copy of the Final Fantasy 1 through 6 pixel remaster for PS4. That is staying sealed. That will never get opened. And I'll probably send it for grading as soon as VGA or WATA starts doing PS4 games, if they don't already, and I just haven't had time to figure that out. There are some PSP games up here. I don't know if I mentioned those. Not too much. And then as far as consoles in this room concerned, I've got another Switch over on the left. That was my original model. I just wanted the OLED, so it got moved over here. Got a Retron 5, PS3. This is the backwards compatible one. It's one of my greatest possessions, I guess. Still do have a PS2 just in case, though. Xbox Series X, Dreamcast, Super Nintendo Junior, Jungle Green, N64, Platinum GameCube, and a Wii. Because who doesn't have a Wii? And then down at the bottom, just got some various books. Over on the left is some Zelda manga. I've got some of the Dark Horse made Zelda books, some of the Elden Ring and Dark Souls stuff, as well as some other strategy guides, and a Sippy. Say hi, Sippy. Say hello. Yeah, see? She talks. All right, so I guess one last thing to close out. This is a nice little piece of symmetry. I have one page of the Lindisfarne Gospels at work, and here is another page at home, as well as my master's degree hood from the University of Hawaii. So, Sippy is asking for an early dinner that she's not going to get. So that's where I hang out when I am not in my office at school. I spend a lot of time in here. It's a good place. Oh, Joy has joined us. There is the third of 4 dogs. Well, you saw Drexler, so now you've seen all 4. She's the queen. I've had her since 2012, and she's been through a couple of dissertations and comprehensive exams and moves and all of that, and she's just the bestest girl ever. Huh, Joy? She's ignoring me. All right, well, that's the room tour, and yeah, it's a good place. I'm very fortunate to have what I have and have the ability to enjoy it all. So, take care, y'all. I'll see you in the classroom.